Okay, I have started. So let us come back. So yesterday's class, we derived the generalized Reynolds equation and how it can be useful for solving thin film lubrication. What is idealized hydrodynamic bearing? Idealized means, as we discussed yesterday class, that Reynolds equation in two-dimensional form cannot be solved analytically. It is difficult to arrive at a closed form solution. Therefore, neglecting one dimension can give a quick explanation of pressure development in various practical cases. So, although that will not be exactly correct or that will not be accurate, but it can predict up to 70-80% of the value that we can get in actual solution. So, for quick estimation, you can always go for solving the problem or idealizing the problems in one dimensional. So before going to this one dimensional problem, let us see how pressure actually develops in a in two surfaces. In a suppose these are two surfaces. Imagine these two surfaces are separated with same height everywhere. So let us say fluid is entering here and going out from here. So if you see, let's say let us divide it in three zones: section 1, section 2, and section 3. Okay, three sections. Now suppose this bottom plate is stationary, okay, and top plate is moving. So fluid is actually not entering, but because the top plate is moving with the velocity u, the fluid is also moving. Now as you can see here from this graph, if that is so, here the velocity profile will be something like this. At the bottom it will be 0, then it will increase further, and top it will become velocity u. Similarly, at the middle zone, it will be also same. At the exit, let's say it will be all the same. So similar pressure profile you will find at these three zones. Now let us see what we'll get if we incline one of the surface. So top surface is inclined, let us say. Okay. So, and imagine top surface is kind of fixed and bottom may be moving with a velocity u or something like that, or bottom is fixed, top is moving towards left. Either way possible. So velocity u or something. Okay. So in that case, the velocity profiles in ideal case, you can see it should be like this. In the middle portion, and the exit zone, it should be like this, right? But because of this inclination, This will be kind of concave, this will be kind of convex, and this will be straight. So these are the velocity profiles, kind of profiles you will get. Okay. So this is the cause of pressure development. Here in this case, if you see, the flow is basically due to the velocity. So it is basically velocity induced flow, first case. Second case, flow is due to velocity as well as due to pressure induced. So flow has two parts. One is due to the velocity and another due to the pressure develops in the fluid film. Now let us go to the example of a real bearing, that is plain slider bearing. Okay. Okay, this is what a plain slider bearing looks like. Now on the top, it is a plate. The plate is stationary. Sorry, plate is moving with a velocity capital U towards right, as you can see. Okay, and coordinate system is shown X, Y, and Z. Now this bottom surface is stationary, which is fixed, which is inclined with an angle alpha. Now left side the gap is H1 and right side the gap is H2. So H1 is greater than H2. So as the plate moves towards right, pressure develops in this bearing. So how the pressure will develop? So pressure will look like something this. Okay, so this is the pressure profile. It will look like something this, which will be 0 at the left end, 0 at the right end, and it will be somewhere maximum here, and then it will decrease somewhere maximum here, and then it will decrease. This is the kind of pressure it will develop in this type of bearings. So now let us solve and find out exactly the pressure profile for this bearing. So as we discussed in the last class, you can start from the two-dimensional equation, or you can start from the the equation that I have derived at the end, which is del P upon del X 12 eta U divided by HQ H minus HM. This is the expression that we derived last class. So in this expression, capital U equal to UA plus UB by 2. But if you want to use our from this expression, you can use directly this expression 6 eta U by HQ HM, where U equal to directly UA. This is what we can also use. Both are same. So this is what applicable now. So let us move ahead. This is our governing equation. So particularly for this case, in this equation, if you see in this equation, what we need to solve this equation. The inputs are X is the domain, X is varying from 0 to B. Okay, X is the domain which is varying from 0 to B, and H you have to find out. What is H? H is the gap. So left side the maximum gap is H1, right side the gap is H2. So how the gap is varying throughout X, so that first we have to find out. So as we know, tan alpha equal to H1 by minus H2 divided by B. For small alpha, directly alpha equal to H1 minus H2 by B, and H equal to H1 minus alpha X there. Okay, so this is the expression that you find for variation of H. This shows how H varies with respect to X. So once you have this, you can use this expression in the above differential equation and solve the equation. So now you integrate the above equation, you will get P equal to so just integrate by substituting H equal to H1 minus alpha X, integrate the above equation and write in the integration form itself, you will find this equation. Now in this equation, you can see we have two constants. One is C1 and another is your H1. H1 is also, sorry, HM. HM is also not known. C1 is also not known. But when we started from this governing equation, what we assume at H equal to HM, del P upon del X equal to 0. So that means this is the point. This is the point. Imagine. So we can define this as xm. Now the height correspond to this point. Height correspond to this point is actually your hm. This is actually height correspond to that point. This is actually hm. Okay. So we are imagining a point hm, or imagining the gap hm where del p upon del x equal to 0. That was our starting point of the derivation. So now you have to evaluate this hm is also not known. It is a constant. It is also not known, and c1 is also not known. Now we have to use boundary condition. What are the boundary condition we have in hand? Boundary conditions. So obviously these are the boundary condition: p equal to 0 at x equal to 0 and p equal to 0 at x equal to b. Okay, that means at both end of this bearing p equal to 0. So if you utilize that, then what you'll get, you can use that in the equation and find out the two constants. So we'll find these two constants as okay. So here I am writing this another new quantity n. You can see here, this is the n. This is not n, this is n. Okay, this is eta. So this new quantity n is equal to h1 by h2. So this is sometimes we call as attitude. Okay. So these are the values of two constants hm and c1. Now if you substitute back these two values in the pressure equation, then you can find the final form of pressure equation as P equal to 6 eta u b h2 square n square minus 1 Okay, so this is the final form of expression that you will get if you substitute the value of hm and c1. So this is your pressure profile. Using this equation, if you plot the pressure with respect to x, then you may get this type of pressure profile. Okay, as we discussed. So this is the kind of pressure profile that you'll get. Now you can very well plot this pressure profile for the bearing. Now in any bearing, first point is to find the pressure profile. Once you find the pressure profile, the next parameter that we always find is load carrying capacity. How much load the bearing can carry? Load carrying capacity. So in this case, your W load carrying capacity equal to L 0 to B P dx. As we discussed from the last class, you see expression L integration 0 to B P dx. That means the pressure is not changing along Z direction. So this direction we are assuming this to be infinite. So pressure is not changing along Z direction. So it is remaining constant. So therefore we have taken out L, and then you are integrating this pressure with over the length or width of the bearing B. So that will give you the load carrying capacity. So if you substitute now the P here, you will get W as this is square. Okay, so this is, do you remember, this is ln, this is ln n, ln of n. So this is the load carrying capacity that we'll find from this pressure. The next important parameter is finding the friction. So before finding the friction, you should find the shear stress. So tau equal to this is the shear stress that we discussed last class. So for this condition or this real problem, this is the shear stress you will get. Then you find the friction force. So friction force will be F equal to again L 0 to B integration of this shear stress over with P. Okay, that is dx, tau dx. So if you do that, then finally friction force will become okay. This is the expression for friction force. Now if you want to find the coefficient of friction, then we'll have mu equal to just F by W, which will give you so this is the coefficient of friction that you can evaluate. So once you find the pressure profile, as you can see here, by solving, so process, let me repeat again. First the geometry, whatever geometry you are taking, okay, geometry of the bearing. From the geometry of the bearing, you find the expression for the film thickness or gap. Use that expression in Reynolds equation. Okay. Now integrate the Reynolds equation to find P. Now use proper boundary conditions depending on the type of problem. Then after using boundary condition, you will find the final form of pressure. Once you find the pressure profile, find the load carrying capacity. Once you find load carrying capacity, find the shear stress, which will give you friction force and which will give you ultimately coefficient of friction. Okay, so these these are the parameters that you have to find out for a plane slider bearing. So this is called plane slider bearing, which is infinitely long. Infinitely long. Okay. Yes, any question?
Sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, in that expression for shear stress,
Yes.
you have taken the component eta u by h, right?
Eta u by h, right? Yes.
But that is valid only when the velocity profile is linear.
Why? You just check the last class derivation. Okay, I suggest you to check the last class derivation. What we did. There we have taken eta u by h. This is the final form. This is not small u. In the last class derivation, if you see, this u is not small u. This is capital U.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Refer to last class derivation that we derived for generalized case, which is applicable for all real applications. Okay. So there, this in the derivation, this was coming as capital U, not as small u. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Any doubt so far?
Sir, that expression for coefficient of friction you wrote, and that comes into picture only when there is contact, means if there is a hydrodynamic bearing in contact with housing, for that it is, right?
No, it is fluid. Try to understand. Try to understand. What we are doing? Check the problem here. Check the problem in hand. This is the problem that you are solving now. Okay, forget about real journal bearing or what. Okay, so what is there? We have this bottom plate which is fixed, right, which is inclined, and top plate is moving with a velocity capital U, and which is inside, let's say, container or something, or total this portion is filled with oil. Okay, so there is no contact as per our definition of the problem. There is no contact because left side it is H1 gap, right side it is H2 gap. Okay, now the shear stress, that you are solving a fluid flow problem. Okay, now you are finding out pressure, then you are finding out what? You are finding out here the shear stress. So shear stress of what? Of the fluid film. Okay, so there is basically no contact. So we are finding shear stress. From the shear stress we are finding the friction force, and from the friction force we are finding out the coefficient of friction. And this W, if you are saying what is this W, this W actually the load carrying capacity which is acting on this top plate vertically downward. This is what W. Okay, so there is no contact. This is fluid film friction. Fluid friction. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yes, sir. But this is like force shear is equals to mu into n. So, isn't it, sir, the plate would exert some shear force, means frictional force in the lowermost point,
Let
F is
me
equals
tell
to
you,
mu
if
and
you
kind.
go back to last class derivation, I have given you friction force calculation at two surfaces. One is at y equal to 0, one is at y equal to h, right? If you refer back to last class derivation, so what I did, I found shear stress at two places, plus or minus, right? Shear stress is plus or minus. This expression was
Yes.
having the first expression minus or plus, right? So that referred to the fluid solid interface friction. Okay, so bottom layer it was different, top layer it was different. We discussed that we'll be taking the maximum value. Okay, so throughout the layer it will be different. Throughout the layer from bottom to top it will be different, which you can see from here, from the first figure I have drawn. See, suppose this is a bottom layer and this is the top layer. So top layer and bottom layer it will be different, and throughout the layer it will be different. So we are taking the maximum value, and for this plane slider bearing I have not mentioned, this has been taken the maximum value, positive here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have taken the maximum value of fluid, and this is fluid solid interaction, shear stress. Got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so any doubt? Anybody else? Okay, so let us move on. Clearly now, once again, see the picture. What is a plane slider bearing? Anybody have any doubt about this picture? Means how the plane slider bearing is, anything? Because now on we'll move on by modifying this bearing and taking few configuration change to these bearings. So just take half-minute time and tell me. Okay, so then let us move on. Now coming back to this bearing, as we are discussing, this bottom plate is fixed, right? And top plate is floating. So imagine if you increase the load, what will happen? In reality, what will happen? What is happening in this problem? This is an inverse kind of solution where you are actually assuming H1, assuming H2, or H and or alpha. These three things are there. One is H1, left side maximum film thickness, right side minimum film thickness H2, and alpha. Okay. So once you fix the alpha, the inclination is fixed. Then what you can do? Then these two are related. These two are related. If you take alpha to be one parameter, then these two are related from this expression. From this expression, these two are related. H equal to H1 alpha X. So you can put H1 minus alpha B. So H2 equal to H1 minus alpha B. So basically you have two parameters now, H1 and alpha. So what we did in our solution, we assumed H1 and alpha some values. Based on that, we found out the load carrying capacity. But in real life, in bearings, load will come from different components, different accessories. Okay. So imagine I will increase the load. So what will happen? Alpha, let us say alpha is constant. then H1 will decrease or increase? If I increase the load, anyone?
Decrease.
Decrease.
Yes, H1 will decrease. This gap will further decrease to carry more load. When the film becomes thin, it carries more and more load. So H1 will go on decreasing, right? But that's a simple phenomena. When W increases, H1 decreases. So in a inverse solution, you assume a particular value of H1 and find out W. Then have a plot of W versus this H1. Okay, have a plot of that, which will look like this. So from that, you can find out for what W, what will be the H1. But this is not the optimum value of W that you will get. Now another parameter is your alpha. You can also vary alpha. Okay, you can also vary the inclination. So it is not a good idea to fix this value of alpha. This alpha, you allow it to vary. If you allow it to vary depending on the load and speed, of course, this is also important. Depending on the load and speed, this alpha will change and H1 will be adjusted. So how this will be done automatically? Then we should think of some smart way of doing it. So we have a smart way of doing it, that is by converting this bearing, okay, by changing this bearing to a pivoted bearing for optimum performance of slider bearings. So how to achieve optimum performance for slider bearing? Let's see. Let's draw the same figure. Okay, now see the same bearing. What I did, the bottom part, the inclined part was fixed. So I put a pivot here. So that means depending on the application of load and the value of U, this is now the pivot is allowed to change its inclination. Okay, so that H1 will change, alpha will change, angle alpha will change. So based on the loading and velocity, these things will change. But when fixing a pivot, how do you find this distance of the pivot? That is now also another important thing now. X1. So what position I should put the pivot? It is not that I have to put at the center. So at what position I should put the pivot for a particular operation? So based on the operation, I have to put the pivot. Now, as we introduce a new quantity, that is, as I said, you can take H1 alpha or another new quantity that we defined, or H1 alpha H2 it was there. Out of these three you can take two as independent quantities. Now another quantity is also we defined N, which is H1 by H2. Okay, so that means if you discard taking alpha, then you have two independent quantities H1 H2. Okay, then if you discard this, then you have two independent quantities H1 and N. Either you take H1 N, two independent quantities for this pivot bearing. Now can anyone tell me what is this X1? How to calculate this X1? To give more hints, pressure here, again developing the same, it is the same pressure. This is the pressure. Yes, anyone? How to find out this X1 for a particular case? See, you have to support this pressure at the pivot. Pivot has to be, this has to be balanced. The bottom part has to be balanced. How do you balance a pressure?
The
Moment
maximum
balance.
pressure should be at
Right. You are going close. Okay. What is that moment balance? What is that point called? What point do you make the pressure moment balance?
The center of gravity in this curve.
Not center of
Center
gravity.
of mass.
Center
Center of mass.
Not center of, there is no mass.
Centroid of this curve.
Centroid of, okay, what is that called? There is a specific name for it. Probably you forgot. Center of pressure.
Center of pressure.
Yes. So it is center of pressure. Now let us find out position of pivot. That is X1. Okay. So how do you find this position of pivot? Here you have to find out the center of pressure. Okay. Center of pressure, which is equal to L by W Px dx. Okay. So already you have calculated P on the top. You can see here for this slider bearing, this is the pressure. So use this pressure to find center of pressure. So if you do that, then you'll get X1 by B Okay, so this is the center of pressure, which depends on, now you can see, only on the quantity N. So it will be decided by the quantity N, and you will find the center of pressure. You know your position of the pivot, so you put the pivot there for optimal operation. Now what will be the maximum load for this type of operation? For that, again you optimize the value of N, dW by dN equal to 0. Okay, so if you do that in the W expression, if you do that from the above W expression, where is the W expression? Here, from the above W expression, if you do that, then you will get N to be 2.18. Okay, so this is your value of n. You should use n equal to h1 by h2, and this is your center pressure where you should use your pivot. Okay, now everything you are fixing to get optimum performance of this slider bearing. At this condition, at this optimum performance, using these calculated values, if you want to find out what is the maximum pressure, a maximum load, W max 1602 eta UL B square by H2 square. Utilizing this value of n, you will find x1 by b equal to 0.578. Okay, you can see here, this is not at the middle. This is at a point which is 0.5 or slightly higher than the middle. Okay, 0.578. But 0.578 in real design, it is difficult to use a value 0.578. So people approximate it, they use it as 5 by 9. Okay, which is coming approximately 0.556. So it is easier to actually design and measure and design the things. So that's why. But in today's world, we can also go very close to 0.578. So there is no problem. So earlier people used to use this fraction 5 by 9. Okay. So any doubt so far? Okay, good. So now this is x1 by b that we find. Then what we did here, you see, maximum load. On basis of maximum load, we calculated the values. Now it is your homework or assignment to calculate on basis of minimum friction. On basis of minimum friction, that means d mu by dn equal to 0. From here you find out what is the value of minimum friction and what is the value of x1 by b, center of pressure. Okay, so this you do as homework. Now part of your assignment and homework, what you can do, I suggest you to maintain a new A5 small notebook. Okay, A5 notebook, new, and go on doing all the assignment or homework, whatever I am asking. This is the first one I asked. Whatever I am asking, go on doing there. Put your roll number, name, everything on the top, and start doing all these. And around or before your end semester, you all have to, this should be A5, not more than A5 size. Okay, and it should have maximum 30 pages, not more than also that small. So after towards end semester, you have to complete all the assignments, whatever I'm asking in the class, and you post it to me. By mail you post it to me, no scanning, nothing. You just post it to my address. Do you know my address?
Sir, you mean the physical copy? Like,
yes, physically you post it. Anybody will having any problem with that? Let me know now.
Sir, you said it should be 30 pages only, like the book.
It will be not more than 30-40 pages. Okay.
Sir, instead of this, like if you ask us to submit things on MS Teams, then it will be easier for you and for us also.
No, it will not be easier for me. Okay, for you also it will be wastage of time. 30-40 pages you scan it and then you submit it and doing all these things. So better you send it through speed post or just by normal post.
Sir, and if it gets lost in transit?
No, don't go for negative first. First go for positive. It will not be lost. You send by speed post, it will not be lost. Nothing is lost now in post. We are getting so many important documents, we are not never losing it. Okay. I don't feel it will be lost. Anybody is having any problem? I understand these questions I was expecting. What will happen if it will be lost? That I was expecting. This is standard question. Okay, anything else? Okay, fine. So this is fixed. Now solve, do all homework in the A5. Okay, and you have to submit me before end semester. Before day of your end semester, all the copies should reach to me positively. Otherwise, you will not get mark for this. And we have considerable mark for all assignment that I am asking. Okay, anything?
Sir, your address. Sir, your address. Where we have to mail that.
Okay, I am writing C. Mihir Sarangi, Department of Mechanical Engineering. IIT Kharagpur. Okay, West Bengal. 721302. Okay. So anything else? Okay, then we'll meet in the next class, Monday.
Sir, what about your phone number, sir? If at all you're not
Yeah.
there.
Phone number. Phone number, why you need?
Speed post will be calling you, right? If you are not there at that point.
Yeah, I'll be always there. Whoever want my phone number, then you will start calling me 9434745058. This is 8. Last one is 8. Okay. Fine. So anything else? Okay. So that is all for today. So we'll meet next class. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.